Hello, welcome to Outmouse Labs. My name is Penny, and I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to be looking at sort of a mini design discussion. It won't be very long, but I just want to talk about some thoughts I've been having. If you're like me, you mostly have access to the RTP or base assets, maybe you've bought some DLCs, and maybe you're not the world's best pixel artist. I don't use any AI tools, and you may not either. So when you do something, it's often going to look something like this. So this is kind of an inn, right? Basic inn. And we have our party characters, and we have a bar and a main desk, and then a place to sleep. It's fairly simple. There's nothing wrong with it. Yes, it's square, but buildings tend to be. And it's square in a sectioned off sort of way. Everything is a complete sprite. There's no really obvious errors, and it's perfectly passable, but it looks pretty simple. So what can we do? Well, let's take a look at this same thing with just a little bit of extra care put into it. If we go to here, it's the same place, right? Same structure, same NPCs, same setup. But what we have, you'll notice some differences right away. One, the bar. The bar looks totally different. If we look at our pictures, instead of just the one, we have a second picture, and this is not in the base assets. We also have some stuff that's up against the wall that we can't see, implying depth. We have chairs instead of all stools. We have stuff on our tables. We have a different plant. Again, a plant that implies some depth through being taller. And we have some foot lockers. I think those are the main differences. We have an implied bookshelf here. So we have a lot of implications, and we have a few extra things. And then, of course, the bar being the big thing. So the thing is, all of these are also RTP assets. This is our edits, or sometimes they're called recolors. And I thought I would show you today a little bit about that. So let me go ahead and open Asprit. You certainly don't have to use Asprit. It's just the tool that I use. One moment. There we are. Okay. And then what I do, so the first thing is your B and C tiles, B, C, D, E, are 768 by 768. You can find this by opening up any default B tile and taking a look. So I created an image that's 768 by 768, and put a grid on it that's 48 by 48, because that's the size of our tiles. And I started putting stuff in it. Things like, let me go ahead and open the inside B and inside C. Well, we have the crates. So I took the crates and I layered them to make kind of more interesting crates. Same with the barrels. I took one of the empty boxes and then put sprites from the weapons in the system weapons files in there to imply like a box of equipment. I edited the base fireplace to create a larger fireplace like you might see in Skyrim. I made stairs. Now stairs like this are in some of the earlier versions of NB, but I used bits of furniture and walls to create stairs that are vertical instead of the kind of horizontal stairs you have by default. I took the desk and made it longer. I added a tabard from this sprite here. So you could take a look around and you think, what would make this more interesting? How can I use this? Also, a lot of them are just too big. So this bread's a great example. It's 48 by 48. If you're using base character sprites, this basket of bread is the same size as a human. So you can definitely make it smaller and get more out of it. So what we did here was we made it smaller, and I can even just show you how we did that. Really simple here. We took it, put it in the thing, and then made sure we took it down so that it's still square so we know it's the same size. And then in this case, all I did was copy it and line it up. And there you go. You just have, it looks entirely different, looks way better on the screen. Basically no extra work. And if you look at it here, we can zoom in. The difference is that versus that on screen. It's a pretty big difference. Our bowl's another great example. By default, our bowl is the size of a person. So in this case, I actually overwrote the original. I put the original here just to show you. And then I took the bowl and I made it smaller in exactly the same way. I took it down until it was a square and put it in the center. And the difference is, again, really notable. A bowl the size of a person versus a bowl the size of a salad bowl. For stuff like this technique is sometimes called clumping, where you have multiple things. What I did was I took the table, the base table, and I made it smaller. And I based this on Final Fantasy VI. The table should be it should be the width of one person and roughly the height of two at most. And then I took the maps, I took objects from in here. So I took the map, I took some of the bottles, I took the health potion, and I made them smaller and put them together in a way that made sense to create an extra sprite. Now, if you look at this sprite, the other thing is this sprite actually takes up a lot of space. It takes up 6 tiles. So does this one. But that allows you to do the 4 around the table. This sprite only takes up 2 tiles, but it gives you 1 chair and a really interesting sort of assortment of things on the chair. And again, if you look at them in the engine, pretty different. So there's a lot you can do with clumping, with coloring, just thinking about what should look different. Over here, if you look, we have these are both base plants, and they're fine. I even kept one of them, but then I took a plant from the outside pack and put it in the bucket, and then added that to my inside. It gives us way more depth. All right, now a couple more things. This is a little bit special. What we did here was we took the frame from our base assets, which is over in the B. We took this frame and we added it. Then we darkened it just using an effect where you can darken the color by lowering the saturation or reducing the brightness. And we removed the picture just by literally deleting it. That left us with a blank frame. Inside of the blank frame, I layered things. I started out with white snow, and then I took the mountains from the world map tiles, shrank them down in the same way, going from 48 to these 4, which is 32 by 32. And then I layered them in to create a mountain range. And then finally, I took the igloo sprite from also the world map B, and shrank it down and added it in. And when you zoom out to the 100%, it looks pretty good. It looks like a piece of art. And in our game, it fits in very nicely. So that was a really cool and easy way to get something totally new. And last but not least, we'll take a look at how we made this. It was definitely a little bit more tricky. I actually made this using a wall tile. So I made this using inside A4. We used this. So this is one of the inside wall tiles. I copied the whole thing over, and I'll go ahead and show you because this actually is just a little bit trickier. I copied the whole thing over to an area where I could work. And then temporarily, I changed my grid from 48 by 48 to 24 by 24 because the way auto tiling works in MZ is it cuts things into 24 by 24 and applies them that way. So for instance, again, just to show you, to get this shape with the auto tile, it takes 24 by 24 and 24 by 24, and there's your 48 by 48 tile. So you cut it up as you needed to get what you needed, and then I did the same thing with the lower tiles, using the 24 by 24s to build my 48s and then put them into place. Then to give this effect, I actually had to use GIMP or Photoshop. I used GIMP to twist the sprite to get it to turn like that because I wanted some angle. And then I lined everything up and built my deck just as you see it. And once it was done, I grabbed a hold of everything and put it in the engine. And I actually had to move things around a bit to get it just how I wanted it. You'll see here, it actually eats up these 2 sprites here too. So if we go ahead and put our grid back so you can see it, 48, it actually takes up all 9 of these sprites. But by having those 9 sprites and having it offset up, what we end up with is a situation where when they stand in front of it, it looks like they're standing in front of it, right? So we'll go to this, get rid of that bowl because it was just there for demonstration. All right, so you make your custom assets in the ways we discussed, and you'll get better and better at this over time. Once you're happy, you always have to go into the save it. In my case, since I saved it as a ASE file, I have to export it into a PNG. Go into the engine, go to tile sets. In this case, it's inside. I put it in the E section. Go to E, and you'll set stars. Stuff is going to be above the player. X they can't walk through. Circle they can. So, for example, we have that X was where that bowl was, so it's now walk-throughable. Down here, you can walk through these. You can't walk through these, you can't walk through these, and you can walk through these. Notice that these are exactly the same one, just flipped. And I had to literally kind of build it out and space it until everything looked the way I wanted it to. And then I put it in, and then you have to test. You always have to test. So we'll go ahead and open it up, and I'll show you what I mean by a few things. Hold on. One of MZ's little quirks, if you don't let it fully load and you go into full screen, it messes up. There we go. And we'll just skip through this. This isn't a writing tutorial. Okay, so things you'll notice. We walk behind because it is a star tile. Same here. We walk behind, it's a star tile. Can't walk through. If you set it to counter by going, actually I'll show you that too. Let's see here. To turn anything into a counter, because by default your only counters are right here. These are counters. But anything can be a counter. So to do that, you go to counter and set what you want to be a counter. And a counter allows you to talk through it, essentially. Basically, if there's an event here and you click here, it'll pass through, which is exactly what we have here. So everything looks really nice. I didn't have to change any kind of plugin to get this to do what I wanted it to do. And you just have what you need. There's our little portrait. It looks good against the others. Looks like it belongs. And there you have it. Over here. There's our foot lockers. You could even make those openable by making them into an event. You can look at this bookshelf. And a lot of it's implication. Like if you are walking, the camera is where it's at, so you're walking behind things. So there you go. These lighting effects that you're seeing, that actually is a plugin. It's a different tutorial. I've done stuff on it. There's some really great ones out there. But just a little bit of lighting doesn't add a ton of work and can really kind of liven up your game some. And that is about it. Hopefully this was helpful. Just kind of a way to make your game stand out a bit. The biggest thing design-wise is think about what you want to be showing. Do you want stuff on your tables? Do you want the bread to be the size of a person? Do you want the bowl to be the size of a person? How big should the bowl be compared to the barrels? These are all questions to ask yourself, and then edit the sprites to make that work, or create new sprites using the parts. You can do some really amazing stuff. One last note, taking a look at these. So this old man, he is a base sprite that's from the engine. He's 48 by 48. Very chibi, not my favorite size. Some people love it, and that's fine if you do. But if you do want the taller style characters, it's really not difficult. These characters are 36 by 69. That seems to be a good ratio to give you properly sort of tall characters without them being too big to use the assets. So 36 by 69. And keep in mind that your characters can be any size you want. There's no like direct limitation on that. You just have to format it right. So if we look here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 characters by 2 characters. It doesn't matter how tall or wide they are as long as the ratio is correct. So 4 by 2, each one having 3 frames and 4 directions. And then you're good to go. You don't have to apply any of the special the special characters or anything, it will just work. So that's how you do that. If you're interested, I can also quickly show you the faces for these. So I used a paper doll maker to make these characters called the Universal Character Generator. It's on sale right now on Steam. They don't sponsor me or anything, but I do think it's a good tool. And then to get these, what I did was I went into the image editor. I started with the top of their hair, and I went down to the grid line above their hands and copied that over. Then I made a new file that is that size, copied it in. Then I went to sprite, canvas size, cut from the center, make sure that it's a square. That gives us that. Then I went to sprite size, and I made it 144 by 144 because that's a character sprite for MZ by default. And there you go. There is your portrait sprite. That simple. You can do that with any character that you draw or generate with like a universal character generator or paper doll maker. I suppose if you do use AI, you could even use this technique to do that. Although, again, I don't recommend it. So there you go. There is a couple of tips to make your game look a lot better really pretty fast without really having to spend money, without spending a ton of time, hopefully without getting in the weeds, and hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully it is fun to make these edits. Hopefully you feel accomplished. All right, well, that is, I think, everything I wanted to cover today. Hopefully this was helpful, and happy game making. Take care.